So I'm going to say hello again. Hi, this is Eric Lehman, and welcome to today's edition of the Game Changer Movement. I feel like it's time to sort of timestamp these episodes because of all that's going on in the world, and specifically this weekend. So this is July 25th, Monday, July 25th, and this is the Monday following another event in the world. And as far as things go, like, we've got a few things happening. I mean, I just learned that hours ago in Las Vegas, Nevada, there were shootings that pertained to playing Pokemon Go. So I had heard of, kind of muggings, but I think this is the first shooting incident that I've heard as it pertains to the playing of the game Pokemon Go. And then I'd also heard that Pokemon Go had applicability for pilots or for people on planes, that the Pokemons were populated, out in the flying world, and that only scares me a lot. But I feel like the event that's most on my heart right now is the shooting that happened in the mall in Munich, Germany. And I've never been to Munich per se, but I've been to Germany. And, what I learned about this particular incident is that it was orchestrated by an 18-year-old, and it looked as though it took a year to plan. And so in a year's time, we learned that, I mean, there's no kind of currently understood terrorist affiliation. So this is another example of sort of a lone wolf. And I feel like that was also the case with the truck driver in Nice, France. And I may have shared, or I think I did share last week, that my brother was 5 cars behind the truck in Nice, France. So some of these events are coming way too close to home. And, fortunately, in a way, I feel like the Game Changer Movement is here to address these things, to have conversations and to create action, proaction, preemptive action, healing opportunities, all the above. And so that being said, it's just a very volatile time in the world, as well as the Game Changer Movement existence. So my heart goes out to anyone who was impacted by the shootings in both Las Vegas as well as Munich, and anywhere around the world. I mean, it's as my kids say, like, if it weren't for these events in the world or violent video games, Daddy, you wouldn't have a job. And I guess, I'm owning that. I know that I'm here for a reason, and that Carol, my counterpart, is here for a reason, and Chris Aishin, who is part of the movement, and Ethar, who is part of the movement, and Alice March, who is part of the movement. All these people who are rallying to co-create a different world. We're all wanting to see a planet that doesn't have daily, if not weekly, reportings of, or weekly, if not daily, reportings of events that I'm sharing about right now. And so, I looked into this shooting a little bit and learned that the shooter was apparently involved in a violent video game called Counter-Strike. So that apparently is now part of, in a way, when these crimes are committed, someone's video game history is now being considered as part of the narrative that's told. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but it definitely seems to be one of the investigators' questions, like what games did they play? And I feel it's a valid question. So, and I'm excited in a way that the Game Changer movement is working on changing the answer to that question for hopefully millions of youth and millions of gamers across the world. And this is going to be sort of a stream of consciousness and probably a shorter episode because Carol is tending to some personal situations, and so it's summertime, and it's important that people experience summer, in connection with their kids. So we may investigate a different time for the Game Changer movement virtual living room to have its regular occurrence, because it seems like 2:30 Eastern Standard Time is no longer standard or no longer sustainable, in terms of getting a viewership as well as getting people to grab a seat in the virtual living room. So we will investigate a different time and get back to you all. So all that being said, I feel like it's a really important time to share what we've learned over the past few years in the Game Changer movement. It feels like a very reflective time, so one of the things that we want to help people through is not necessarily maintaining the status quo, but we want people to maintain their sense of joy and celebration, and what I don't want to do is report on any of these events and spread fear. What I do want to do is share what I know, share what I've learned, share what I think, share what I feel, and also do it from a place of healing and love rather than fear mongering, because my kids are currently away in Ocean City, Maryland, and they're dancing. They're dancing in a dance competition, and that's a beautiful expression of joy and art. And I'm so glad that they do that. And like the people who are celebrating Bastille Day, like I want people to still go out and celebrate, because that's what we're here to do. That's what summer's for. That's what even winter's for, and I just feel like it's time to allow, for healing to start. It's really time to let healing in, to reach out to even the perpetrators or the people who felt as though they needed to enact these sinister visions, and forgive them, and to love them, know that there's something going on right now, and it's not in any one of us, it's in all of us. And I feel like that's the message for today, is like, the more these things happen, the more I get that we are denying that we are a collective heart, mind, body, and soul. And when these events happen, it's more and more clear to me that we're a collective, and that our collective body was just injured. And when people are taken, from this planet, unexpectedly the way they have been recently, it's a symptom of a larger syndrome that we need to talk about. We need to talk about this. Like it's what's here. It's what's present. You know, it's time for us to admit that fear, making more fear, is winning. And if we continue to fight for our right to own weapons of violence, like, we're just gonna continue the downward spiral, and we're gonna create more fear rather than love. So, you know, I mean, and I feel like it's time to get more and more present or transparent with my reason for starting this in the first place. And so admittedly, with the recent events, like, the violence factor is more front and center, you know, and I'm as excited as I am about letting go of violence, I'm equally, if not more, excited about helping kids redirect hours from, you know, playing games that either teach you how to kill or don't make real world impact. And I want to redirect that time, you know, towards games that we create together that actually create real world impact. And there are tremendous exemplars of this already, you know, and we've detailed this before, but anyway, like, there's a game called Fold It that helped researchers understand HIV. You know, a question that was posed and unanswerable for 15 years became answerable in 21 days in the game world, you know. And then there's this game called Eterna, which helps, you know, and gamers actually are incentivized by the thought that they the RNA that they create will actually be synthesized in a lab if it shows promise, you know. And that's a really exciting kind of relationship to build, you know, in the virtual realm, to know that the virtual realm will leak into the real world. And there's this game called Malaria Spot, and from what I've heard, and I hope that this is true, but I've heard that it takes real world malaria slides, you know, and helps providers in developing nations to diagnose malaria, and it's cut down the diagnostic time from 2 hours per patient to 7 seconds per patient. So I will try to verify that statistic or that sharing, you know. So anyway, you know, as excited as I am about learning about all the time that we can redirect, you know, from video games that teach us how to kill, or even video games that just don't have real world impact, to playing games that matter, you know, that's really exciting to me. But beneath all that, it's just, I feel like it's time to share more and more from my heart and from my kind of the reason why I'm uniquely qualified to lead this movement, is that when I was a kid, I saw a lot of real world violence. You know, I saw it in my neighborhood. I saw it in my household. I saw it as I was bullied, you know. So, and it was a reality for me that, you know, that made me wonder a lot, like, you know, why would you package violence, you know, into a game and then put it into the living rooms and the bedrooms of millions and millions of people on this planet, and especially if they didn't have violent households, you know. So, you know, I don't want to go into tremendous detail about what I experienced. But I'll share this, and it's probably one of the more vulnerable things that I feel like I'm going to share in this public format. But when I was in middle into high school, I actually took the small bus, and the small bus was called a lot of other things that I won't refer to, a lot of other nicknames. Anyway, I took the small bus because walking from the bus stop to my house was a daily nightmare for me until the small bus got me directly home. So and it's interesting. I don't know what I did to bring that on, but I was different from a very, very early age, and people let me know that I was different, and some of that letting me know took the form of bullying. So I guess, sometimes, like, when we peel away the layers of the onion, and I would imagine, when we look into the lives of the people involved in this most recent shooting, the one in Munich, perhaps we'll hear about a lot of bullying that, remained unhealed. And so, I think that's the interesting thing. We have so much choice. We can choose to heal. We can choose forgiveness. Like, I'm Facebook friends with a lot of the people who bullied me. And I feel as though, all is forgiven in that realm. On the flip side, it's not forgotten, and I don't want to recreate that experience for anyone else. And so one of the things that has me scratching my head about this generation is, like, why do we package so much violence and then, put it into our most intimate of spaces? Our cell phones go everywhere with us. There's data that suggests that our cell phones are one of the dirtiest things on the planet right now, because our cell phones go to the bathroom with us. And so all that being said, I want to elevate the energy of this broadcast, because it's, as with as much sadness that there is in the world, there's also, like, I just got off the phone with a dear friend of mine, and I feel uplifted. I feel inspired to stay persistent on this journey. So anyway, it's a very, very exciting time, but it's also a time of perspective taking, and if we do nothing, then we're going to get more of the same, like, guaranteed. If we don't take the time to learn from what just happened, to address the fact that there's a collective mind, body, heart, and soul that needs to be addressed accordingly. Like, we can't know enough about this one shooter to have me think that it was just this one shooter. You know what I mean? Like, even though there's like a trend of people like lone wolves, like, they're not really lone wolves. Like, they're all part of a collective mind, body, heart, and soul that's yearning for healing right now, really yearning for healing right now. And that's if you were to ask me what the Game Changer movement is really about, it's about healing the world and changing the game so we can play a new one together, one that doesn't promote fear, one that doesn't, teach violence, one that has us knowing how good it feels to take care of one another. I don't know what, the last time, I don't know, I saw someone who was struggling to walk, or to get up from a sitting position. And I went over to a total stranger and I helped him up. And I just felt better after doing that. It wasn't that he thanked me or that he tipped me or whatever, I felt better when I was able to look out for someone other than me, and I know in the coaching world, there's so much reiteration of the plane's going down, put the oxygen and mask on yourself first. And, I get it. We need to breathe, and it's important that we're here and breathing and taking care of ourselves. And one way of taking care of ourselves is feeling what it feels like to help another, and also acknowledging that we go nowhere alone. We do nothing alone. Somehow, some way, someone has given us a chance, held the space for us. Even the people who said, we couldn't do something, gave us the incentive to, whatever the right word is, prove them wrong. So anyway, I just feel like it's a very, very volatile time. It's a pivotal time. And it's time for us to start acting, thinking, breathing collaboratively. And for us to acknowledge that we are part of a collective soul. We are part of a collective body. And I've been doing a lot of flying recently, and the more I fly, the more I realize that I get to see the earth in its innocence. I get to see the bodies of water, which I call the circulatory system of the planet. And I get to see all these, communities, which is sort of the nervous system and the pulse of the planet. And then I see the earth itself, the land, and that's the body, of the planet, and, the skeletal structure of the planet, and from 30 to 40,000 feet, it looks so perfect and looks so innocent and it looks so right. And then as soon as the plane, is ready to land, then you see all the different ways that things are perhaps out of balance or being taken for granted or just cast aside, and I guess, airports aren't built on really expensive land. So what tends to surround it is either, marshland or literally wasteland or potentially even dumping grounds. So, and then we get our Uber rides, our taxi rides to the place that probably contains our comfort zone, place that helps us not look at the world that's been cast aside, so that we can look at our four walls and say, oh, it's okay from this point of view. I guess that's the challenge for me, is that at a very young age, I knew that things were not okay. I knew that there were generations of angst that were coming up at unexpected times, in my family line and in lots of other family lines that I experience on the periphery of me. And so perhaps, I was selected to be the game changer movement as it's coming into the world. So anyway, it's a big week. I'm going to be working with Carol, and we're going to be working on our book, Conscious Disruption, and we're going to be creating videos to kind of raise support for our global efforts. And it's a really exciting time, and I don't know if my energy is matching my level of excitement, but I'm really, really excited, and I'm also just taking in the energy of all that's happening on the planet at the same time. So like, as excited as I am, I'm also like, I'm sad. I'm sad by, I'm sad by the fact that the game changer movement is so needed in a way. Even though it gives me a tremendous sense of purpose, it also gives me a tremendous sense of like sadness, which is just okay. Like, it's okay to be sad, and inspired at the same time. It's like, I now get a weekly, sometimes weekly, sometimes daily, but like confirmation that it's time for what the game changer movement is really about to come, become more visible, become more understood, become more of a shared experience. And so I'm excited on so many levels. Be on the lookout for videos that Carol and I produce, that I'm going to produce. I'm going to apply for yet another TEDx Talk opportunity this week, and we'll give that a whirl. And yeah, so there is a lot, and I'm excited about it all. And we're going on a half hour, so I feel like unless anyone else shows up, it's a good time to end. This was never meant to just be one person spouting off. It's not a periscope, it's a blab. And so it's time to broaden the conversation. It's time to even broaden the conversation larger than the steering committee of the game changer movement. And so so just consider all of yourselves invited. We want you to be part of the conversation. One of the interesting ways that I lead is I have conversations with people, and then kind of like in popcorn style, and what I mean by popcorn style is like things pop, different skills and talents and, attributes and aptitudes show up, and passions show up. And then when the popcorn happens, then we say, yeah, that's the next thing to do. And so, on one hand, it's challenging because we don't have like a 5-year plan to lean on and to look back to for guidance. That being said, we get a lot of guidance, and so much is happening, and I'm so excited to move forward into the game changer movement. So happy Monday, July 25th. I guess many are calling it Christmas in July. So if there are presents under a tree somewhere, I hope you enjoy opening them. I feel like the takeaway for this week is just, if you can look at the world through lenses of having a collective mind, body, heart, and soul, how would you act differently? How would you change your game if you knew, like I know, that we are a collective rather than a large set of individuals? What would you do differently? How would you change your game? Tell me about it. When this goes to YouTube, I wanna hear from you. Like, I want to know how you want to change your game. I want to buy less plastics this week. I want to be more conscious around water consumption. I want to make sure that I drink, especially in the hot areas in the summer. I really want to make sure that I drink a lot of water. And tea is no substitute for water. So I'm just gonna be better at drinking just water, and and I want to drink it out of a multiple use container. I don't want to create demand for more plastic production or more petroleum based plastic production. So anyway, that's the Game Changer Movement virtual living room for this week, and don't exactly know where we'll be broadcasting from next week, and hopefully Carol will be back to broadcast with me and perhaps others, and maybe we'll come up with a different time. So until then, thank you so much, and let me know how you want to change your game, and I'll keep you posted on how I'm changing mine. All right, bye.